Brainstormkid Reading Level 3 Physics Project Buoyancy. Have you ever wondered how a cargo ship that weighs 250,000 tons can float in water, but a tiny paper clip sinks? It's because of buoyancy. Buoyancy is a force just like gravity and friction. Remember we're learning from the roller coaster project? Gravity is a force that pulls you down to the earth. Friction pulls on things that are moving and slows them down. Buoyancy is a force that makes the object float in the liquid. Whether the object will sink or float is about how dense the object is, not how big or small it is. You've already done several experiments in the class. Remember, a tiny piece of foil sinks to the bottom, but bigger objects like plastic bottle would float? It's because a piece of foil is more dense than an empty plastic bottle or a balloon. Then, what is density? First, you have to understand that everything is made of atoms and molecules. We cannot see them with our eyes, but they're everywhere. If the molecules inside the object are very close together, it is solid or dense. If the molecules are spread out, it is less solid or less dense. Objects that are more dense than liquid, like a bowling ball, will sink. Objects that are less dense or hollow, like basketball, will float. But this does not explain why large objects made of really dense materials, such as cargo ships, are able to float so easily. Well, you need to understand Archimedes' principle. Archimedes was a mathematician and a philosopher who lived in ancient Greece. He was trying to solve a problem given to him by the king. The king had a crown made out of a chunk of a pure gold by a local craftsman. The king thought the craftsman stole some of the gold and swapped it for silver that wasn't worth as much. He couldn't prove it, so he asked Archimedes to prove it. Archimedes could not figure it out. But one day, when he was sitting in the bath, he noticed the water level rose when he went into the bath. This means, in order to make the space for his body in the bath, water had to get pushed around in the bath, making the water level rise. What? He got so excited by his discovery that he jumped out of the bath naked, shouting, "Eureka!" So here's what he did. He weighted the crown, a chunk of gold, and a chunk of silver. He put each of them in the water and measured how high the water level goes up with each object. He discovered that the crown did not weigh as much as the gold, but did weigh more than the silver. Archimedes figured out that every time you put something in water, it has to make room for itself. It does it by pushing aside the water as it gets in. If an object like a basketball is lighter than the amount of water, it displaces the water, then floats. But if an object is heavier than the amount of water it displaces, like a bowling ball, then it sinks to the bottom. But what about the cargo ship? It is really heavy, but it does not sink. Even though the cargo ship is very large and heavy, most of it is actually hollow. It is filled with air. So it is not as dense as you might think. The bottom of a ship is also designed to displace a lot of water. This means the ship is lighter than the amount of water it displaces, so it can float. Remember when we did the foil ship challenge? Some of the ships you guys made float better than the other because their designs were different. The ship that were designed to have more surface on the bottom could float better and hold more marbles. Do you remember? When more of the surface is touched the water, it is more buoyant, which means it floats better. When an object floats, it pushes the water out of the way. That's called displacement. But guess what? Water pushes back. So more surface area an object has, like the foil ship you guys designed, more water pushes back against it, helping it to flow. To put it simply, an object is buoyant if it weighs less than the water that it displaces. If it is heavier than the water it displaces, it sinks.